On Sunday, July 19th, 1953, Southside Baptist Church was sent out of Tabernacle Baptist Church in Joplin, Missouri, with 10 members. Southside began to meet in a little storefront building located at 2808 Byers Street with Brother Doral Baird as the pastor. The Bulletin, Southside Baptist News, described the church as an old-fashioned, independent Baptist church. Our Sunday school stands for the whole Bible, plus nothing and minus nothing. We believe in a Sunday school where the Bible is seen, the Bible is heard, the Bible is believed, and the Bible way is practiced. The goal was simple: spread the gospel. In just a few months, Southside began to emphasize world missions, having missionaries come and share their burdens with the congregation. In 1954, Pastor Baird began to offer soul-winning classes, teaching people how to share the gospel with others. In 1955, Pastor Baird's wife contracted polio and passed away in March of that year. On March 27, 1955, Pastor Baird resigned as pastor of Southside Baptist Church. Brother Ralph German was called as the pastor and served from April 1955 to August of that year, when Southside called Brother James Stapleton to be the pastor. In the fall of 1955, the church purchased a house and 3 lots at the corner of 23rd and Grand Avenue. Pastor Stapleton and his family moved into the house, and the church began to save funds in order to build a new church building on the property. During that time, the church met in several locations.
The church just kind of drifted for a few years after that. It was in several different places. One time it was in the old Electric Theater on Main Street. Another time it was in the Union's Baker Hall on 22nd and Main. And then I believe for a while it might have been even in the Memorial Hall. And then it wound up over on 23rd and Grand.
After some unsuccessful attempts to raise funds for a new building, Pastor Stapleton resigned, and Brother Ed Pratt was called as Southside's next pastor. Because the church already had property with a house already built, the members decided to remodel the house in order to make it suitable to hold church services in. Walls were taken down, and a sanctuary was formed. Brother Pratt resigned in August of 1957, but it wasn't until April of 1958 that Brother Freddie Wright was called to be the next pastor.
Sherry and Gary were baptized over at Faith Baptist Church. We didn't have a baptistry at the time. And Marty, at the age of 5 and afraid of water, he was baptized in Shoal Creek. I didn't know if he'd go through with it or not, but he had faith in Freddie too. So he was baptized down at Shoal Creek at Low Water Bridge.
In 1959, the congregation voted to begin building a church building on the property at 23rd and Grand. On April 17th, 1960, the building was completed. Over the next 10 years, 2 additions were built, and in 1985, the brick was added to the building and the church was remodeled. On February the 5th, 1995, an arsonist set the building on fire.
On a Sunday night, we were scheduled to have a state fellowship meeting. We were going to host that fellowship meeting the following Monday. Well, that night, Brother Freddie Wright preached a sermon. He titled his sermon, "Don't Look Back." Little did we know that night that our church was going to be extensively damaged by fire, which we couldn't use for a while.
On October 15th, 1995, just 8 months after the fire, the building was completely reconstructed. Due to his declining health, Pastor Freddie Wright decided it would be best to retire from the pastorate of Southside. On June 7th, 2009, after 51 years of faithful service, Pastor Freddie Wright stepped down. Brother Aaron Shipman then served as the pastor of Southside until September of 2010. In July of 2011, Brother Philip Owens was voted as the next pastor of Southside. Then on May 22nd, 2011, just before the Sunday evening services, a Category F5 tornado went through the city of Joplin. Once again, the church building was completely destroyed.
Church hadn't started yet, so there wasn't too many people there, but there's about 17 of us crowded down in a little bitty classroom. We were all praying.
I won't say it's a fond memory, but it was something that was a blessing in disguise when we rode through the tornado in our truck out in the parking lot. And you asked the question several times, why would we have been involved in that manner? And what's come to mind so many times is the children's program that we were involved with at that time. You were able to look in the faces of those children, many of which were brought from areas that had been hit heavily by the tornado, and you could sympathize with them in ways that those that didn't experience that couldn't. And so it gave us an opportunity to minister to those children and really come down to the level and the things that they were dealing with.
I think probably one of the interesting moments was a day, the next day, Richard, Alex, Linda, Nate, and Rachel, we all came out to start cleaning up, and the boys found the American flag. And they climbed up on what was the remaining of the church and actually put the flag back up. And that was a pretty cool memory, just kind of remembering that, hey, the building was gone, but the spirit and the attitude was still there, and that we were going to rebuild.
With nowhere to hold services, Southside Baptist Church began to meet at Sagmont Baptist Camp. Later, a Seventh-day Adventist church began to rent its facilities to Southside, and services were continued there while the church began building a new building. In January of 2012, a plot of land just over 7.5 acres was purchased where the new site for Southside Baptist Church would be. On March 18, 2012, the ground was broken to begin building the new facility, where Southside holds its services today. Pastor Owens, with the help of missionary builders Rusty Kitchens and Drew Needham, led the building process of this new facility. Members of Southside, along with the help of churches from all over the country, helped perform much of the labor that it took to get this building completed. On April 20th, 2014, the new building, though not completely finished, was dedicated for the service of the Lord. Over the last 4 years, many small projects have continued to progress, and projects have been completed. In July of 2017, Pastor Owens resigned, and in February 2018, the church called Brother Mark Ledford as the next pastor of Southside. Though Southside Baptist Church has seen tragedy, we have seen God do miraculous things through that tragedy. And just like the children of Israel could look back at the monument in the midst of the Jordan River and be reminded of the many times God had delivered them, Southside Baptist Church can look at the things that have happened in the past, and we can see how God delivered us. We can be encouraged to know that God has brought us this far, and if He tarries, we can know that He will deliver us again.
Gary and I've seen a lot. We've seen the church burn, we've seen rebuildings, we've seen the tornado. We were in the basement when the tornado happened. And it's been a lot of devastation, but a lot of good has come from it because we have a much nicer building, a lot bigger and a lot better.
The church was a small church, but they always did have and still do have a very, very loving membership. It's been that way ever since I've known Southside.
After the tornado, Rich and I started working with the teen group, and we would have activities often. One night we just stayed and played games after church and had pizza when we were renting the Seventh-day Adventist church. And we introduced the kids to a game called Sardines, which is like hide and seek. The first person goes out and hides, and the next person has to go and find them and hide with them. But those teens found places to hide all over that church that you just would not believe, and they had the best time. We were there for several hours playing games and fellowshipping. It was a sweet, sweet time.
Then God permitted us to have this beautiful building that we now have today. I just thank God for His blessings on our church, that He seen us all through this, and all through this, we stood firm.
Through the years, Southside has been a lot of new things. New buildings, new pastors, new people. And as we continue to serve God, grow together, and go across the street and around the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ, we will continue to see new things. But there is one thing that will never change. We're still serving the same God, we're still growing in the same Bible, and we're still taking the same gospel that those faithful men did back in 1953. By God's grace, Southside Baptist Church will continue to serve and to grow and to go with the same mission, with the same vision to see souls saved and lives changed by the gospel of grace.
Some follow after fortune and fame, so when they're gone the world will remember their names. But I am learning that what matters most can't be held in my hands, and that riches aren't the measure of the worth of a man. It's found in me, faithful to the cross, faithful to His call, laying down my life, surrendering my all, forgetting what's behind me and counting it as loss, faithful to the finish, faithful to the cross. I want to know I ran my race, that I fought the fight and kept the faith. And when at last I stand before the throne, I want to hear Him say, well done, that my heavenly Father would be proud of His Son. So may my life to